right, we're back to discuss some more footy ball, and it's Premier League action for Manchester United tomorrow afternoon at 12:30. We host Everton. Dashball's coming to play us off the park. He's coming to beat us, defeat us, and dismantle the hopes and dreams of Ten Hag's future at Manchester United, and all the Ten Hag inners and Ten Hag outers are parading throughout the streets of Manchester. Yeah, it's all a bit waxy lyrical at the moment. But how are we doing, everybody? It is Friday afternoon. Very strange of me to do a stream at this time, but I fancy doing it. It's quite soon in the weekends that we have our weekend fixture. But at least for us, if it ends well, we get to enjoy a full weekend of football, right? If it ends horribly, at least we don't have the whole weekend to dread what is to come. But then again, it's probably going to be a lot of depression going around, watching other teams that we should be better than, probably doing better than us. So yeah, it's not looking too hot. But at the same time, if it goes well, then we'll take it. We'll take it. But man, ERIK, is he on his last legs? Is this one of 3 games that he has left to save his Manchester United career? Quite possibly. Quite possibly. And as somewhat addressed last night as well, in the show that I did previously about the managerial situation and potential candidates in line in the pipeworks to replacing him. But hey, at least with this, it's a bit of a distraction from all of the whole managerial talk and having to listen to people trying to fit Gareth Southgate into the managerial frame of Manchester United Football Club. That would be literally like the Antichrist appearing in a church. It's not going to go down well. So, yeah, we're going to delve into things there and to give my thoughts and feelings, not just about the situation, but this match tomorrow, what I expect, what I hope for, and perhaps the implications of a couple of outcomes, perhaps, that this game could entail. So, first and foremost, let's welcome first in the chat there, Football Bounce channel. How are we doing, Abs? Hope you're doing well. Arsenal on top of the world, it seems like. Dismantling teams, 5s and 6s. It's I'll tell you what, it's funny that I actually predicted that Arsenal would go 6-0, and it was a bit of a throwaway as well. Because I was just like half in my mind now, Arsenal and Sheffield United, loads of people are writing this off, right? Loads of people are writing Sheffield United off, it'll end up being something like a 2-1/3-1, and Arsenal sort of get that clearance cushion sort of right at the very end of the game when Sheffield United run out of steam, be a bit stubborn defending. But no, that didn't happen. That didn't happen at all. It literally was exactly how everyone predicted it. It was a training session in Sheffield for Arsenal. It's just that they got 3 points out of it. They're awarded 3 points for a training session. Only a club like Arsenal these days can end up doing that. Arsenal, City, Liverpool, those sorts of clubs, at least with them, when they go and play games, they're actually convincing when they play. And when things go well, it's like there's no sort of question marks as to what if this, what if that. No, it's just completely wiping the floor with the opposition, which is something that Man United just never do, haven't done for probably the best part of 10 years, barring, funnily enough, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, a couple times, especially when we played Leeds United and Southampton as well. Leeds and Southampton under Ole were some good days. There were some good days, 9-0 beating Southampton at home. That was great. And putting six fives and sixes past Leeds, it was a rarity. It was a rarity. Big ups, fellas. How's it going? It's going all right, man. Big ups to Juminho. Got the baby nephew around. I was babysitting him this morning. It was an absolute bundle of joy. He's absolutely thrilled with this little new fish toy thing that's sat in the fish tank downstairs. And literally, this little clownfish toy keeps occasionally blowing bubbles like the fish is burping. And he's absolutely beside himself with it. He's literally can't he can't take his eyes off it. It's really funny. But yeah, bless him. He's got his second birthday coming up soon, so yeah, looking forwards to some good times with my baby nephews in my life. So yeah, it's all good stuff over in this household. Can't stay long, but I've hit the like. Big ups to you, man. Thank you very much for the contribution. It's very kind and generous to do so. And big ups to everybody else who also does the same. Putting 9 past Southampton wasn't even an achievement after the league was doing it at that time. Yeah, I mean, I suppose, I guess, except Arsenal, because if I'm not mistaken, Arsenal were sort of losing to Southampton at St Mary's Stadium and dropping points at home as well. Some 1-1s or 2-2 kind of score lines, and I think it's like a 2-1 here or there between league and also league cups. I think it was. I can't remember I don't think it was FA Cup because you weren't going out of the FA Cup early days at that point. But yeah, it wasn't. Yeah, Southampton. Southampton were kind of the whipping boys in that season, as were Leeds for pretty much most days. But it is what it is. Bless him. Yeah, both of my nephews, both of my baby nephews, crazy characters on them, but really, really enjoyable to spend time with them. Yeah, but the Southampton loss isn't my point. It's like what is it? The day you in Southampton and the weather was so bad that literally half the people who would have made content for this game couldn't make it at the stadium. They all just sort of gave up. It was just like, yeah, no, I guess I'm going to have to cover this from home now because the weather's so bad. It's just like a snow blizzard or something swept across the UK, and so pretty much like half of the fans that were supposed to go couldn't end up going at the end. But yeah, those were some days. Those were some days, some brutal days, but we remember them fondly. Um, but yeah, Everton tomorrow afternoon. Ten Hag, is this the beginning of the end, the official beginning of the end for the Manchester United manager? It could be. Simply put, it could be. It could be his end. It could be the beginning of the end. And with the fact that with most things with Manchester United, we need to keep an open mind to it, given that there's a lot of change in the air, there's a lot of change going on, there's a lot of talk, a lot of work going on, and some of it's going to be good, some of it's going to be bad, and keeping an open mind and just sort of like not getting too sort of in supportive of one certainty without sort of keeping the eyes and ears open with the other possibilities as well. So for me, this could be, and I'm sort of feeling like this will be, uh, judged on how I've looked at this game thus far in other previous predictions. I've looked at this game thinking that this could legitimately go either way, given the circumstances between player and managerial relations is pretty much dead in the water now. Like I strongly believe that there's a lot of players there that have decided, yeah, I can't keep this up anymore. Of the loss to Fulham, Manchester Derby, it's done its toll, and I think some of those players have just fully had enough, and I think they're calling the curtain. They're calling the curtain. So yeah, the manager on his own is massively up against it. Will Everton be victors on the day though? I backed the prospect of a 2-1. It's not it's not like a 2-1 where it's like, well, we'll get the bounce back. There'll be some good performances. I think it's going to be one of those really, really scrappy games where it's just like Manchester United defence does enough to thwart most of what Everton do, but a lot of what goes on at the top of the pitch, it's probably got to be some sort of late drama in the game that I feel like has got to unfold for us to really get much out of this game. Such as a Scott McTominay late substitution coming on and actually either scoring or assisting in one of two goals. I think this could probably pan out a similar way to which the Brentford game panned out. Brentford sort of neck and neck, backwards and forwards a little bit, trying to find the essence of quality, and then the away team, they get their goal. Things look a little bit comfortable for the away team before Manchester United inevitably start throwing the kitchen sink at the issue. And I feel that's probably it's probably the way that the game's going to unfold as far as the sway of balance as to how the momentum's going to go. It'd probably be something like a sluggish second half start from Manchester United, and somebody's sleeping in midfield, and it's somebody like an Arna or Decore that finds himself on the score sheet from the typical midfield runs from deep. It's a common theme with our defence leaking goals from those positions and not tracking a runner. So either that or corners, because I know with Everton, um, a fair bit of height in their team. So I think, again, crosses, corners, set pieces, always a risk. Always a risk. And with Andre Onana, which, to be fair, has done all right in goal in terms of being a goalkeeper and saving shots, I still don't know if he's necessarily this sort of he's found in essence the confidence to command the box yet. I don't feel like we've seen that yet. I think he's getting a bit more comfortable being in the box and facing down the shots and trying to make the big saves and a couple of one-on-ones as well, a few one-on-ones. I feel like he's getting more comfortable, and I think that's important for a goalkeeper, especially when you're at Manchester United or a massive club. You got a goalkeeper that is uncomfortable, is nervous, it's a high risk that he loses concentration in the split moment where the concentration is needed, the focus is needed. And I feel like there's once or twice, well, I say once or twice, there's actually quite a few times at the start of the season where it feels like Anana, his head is too desperate to want to do really well for the club. That I think he's second guessing things. He's in his own head a little bit. But I mean, one credit that I will give him as a player, as an individual, is his accountability. He does take accountability. If he feels responsible for a loss, he says, "No, that one's definitely on me." Like, I've caused a problem here. I don't doubt that he's desperate to rectify any problems he's made or any mistakes he's made. He's desperate to rectify it. I mean, the manager clearly backs him, regardless of what goes on. If Onana is quite literally not available, then that's the only way Ten Hag doesn't pick Andre Onana. Now, I don't know if that's necessarily a way of wisdom in order in going about dealing with stuff like this, because I feel like Bayendier, having played only once, even as a rotational backup goalkeeper, I mean, it, it's like at least utilizing your backup goalkeeper in other competitions, just as sort of like a role balance, like what De Gea and Sergio Romero had. I thought that De Gea playing the league competitions and I think it was FA Cup or something, and then you had Sergio Romero playing in, say, the Carabao Cup, but also then in European competitions as well. I think having a distribution of games in that sense is probably a wise thing to do because it keeps everybody on their toes a little bit. There are games dotted all throughout the season where you're going to rotate the goalkeeping position, but that's never happened. That's never happened. Onana's just played absolutely everything, and ultimately, it's a setback. It has to be regarded as a setback if you're Bendia. So, as far as his links in the summer with moves back to Turkey, yeah, I genuinely sympathise with that. I agree with that. I think as a manager, you need to focus on uh, implementing, standard squad rotation, like stuff that's not even things that you say, well, this isn't planned. At least with this, you should say, well, yeah, we plan for this. We plan this rotation well ahead of time. This is laying down the law with some of these players so that they understand what their role is and they actually see that role um, being put into effect. So, yeah, to me, that's where I'm at with the goalkeeping situation. Um, but yeah, as far as goalkeepers go, I mean, Onana's still fit and available, so I think all of us know that he's definitely going to be starting this game. But dependent on the sort of threat that Everton will propose for us, I know we beat them recently 3-0 at their place, and courtesy of an absolute wonder strike from Garnacho. Um, I think if he tries to leave the ground for anything at all, everyone's just going to hold their breaths. I think, although it's probably not going to happen again where he hits a bicycle kick. If he hits a bicycle kick again this game, like God only knows. God only knows. Like, I mean, I guess I would have to be a bit shameless, and as long as we win, of course, I'll have to be shameless and literally commemorate like an awards ceremony for just Garnacho and just worship the guy for an entire stream, just for the sake of being shameless and really, really just over the top, OTT with it. But yeah, it would be something spectacular, unbelievably spectacular if that happens. I mean, the fact is, even those that don't really watch football, that don't really support a team or like football, they assess the athleticism in that behind that goal, and they're just like, "Wow, I don't watch football. I know that's a really good goal." It's like it's what it does to some people, the magic side of football, turning non-believers into believers. Mm. But that's wishful thinking. That is wishful thinking. We're wishing that this happens. We're hoping that it happens. But we all know it's probably not going to happen. Kind of like where we win 3-0 away from home against Everton in the return fixture. This game, yeah, it's definitely not a 3-0. It's not got the readings of a 3-0 scoreline. Everton have been blowing a little bit hot, a little bit cold of their last 5 games, as have we. Um, as far as the play style goes, there's not really any recognised style with Ten Hag, and I think again it's going to be more of the same. A lot of question marks about what is the actual game plan here. We understand what the manager intends to do, but we never see it. So it's kind of like, well, if we never intend to play with the high line, the possession football, playing in and around the opposition's box and keeping the ball up that end of the pitch. I mean, some people will say, well, at least try it. At least show you're trying to play that style of football, because if you're not trying to play the football that you want to do, then ultimately you're what the reason why you're here is not being fulfilled. So does that mean you're kind of surplus to requirements almost immediately? It's like the admission. The the jury casts its vote on the basis of admission, and the admission is that the manager is choosing not to play his recognised style of football. But you have to ask why. Why wouldn't you play your style of football? Why not play? Even if you don't have the players that are key to that style of play, if you're trying to play that style, at least then people can look at you and say, well, at least he's trying. But that's kind of the double-edged sword, because if he does try that and it goes horrendously wrong, people would look at him like how they somewhat look at Vincent Kompany. Literally goes with plan A and gets smashed week in, week out. It's not a good look. And it's sort of an essence of Ten Hag perhaps wants to get players that he knows he can trust with the system in first before taking the leap of faith with playing his style, or play survival football that is somewhat a hybrid rendition between his style but also the style that fits those players. And I think it's a sort of style that we can say is lost in translation. I think it's easy for a manager to think about a game plan, think about a style of football, to draw it all up in their head, but then you actually implement it on a pitch is a whole other matter. And I just don't think, for the life of me, that Ten Hag has figured this out. For me, he hasn't figured this out. I think it's a shame on his part that he's felt that it's necessary to do that. I think the fact that he's desperate to be the Manchester United manager, it's like a lot of the managers that come in say, well, I'd love to be the Manchester United manager, and it would be a dream to be that. But then when it starts to go wrong, it's like the dream that you just don't want to end, but the end is nigh, that it's coming, and just trying so desperately to hold on to it, like clutching at straws. And it's almost a bit painful to have to watch managers. It's not just Ten Hag here. We're talking about Ollie, talking about Mourinho, we're talking about various other managers as well. Just a dream scenario that you are the Manchester United manager, and that when it goes wrong, it it's it goes it goes up. Well, yeah, well, I say it goes up. It goes up in flames. It goes down like a lead balloon. So yeah, to me, it looks like it's sort of desperation settings at the moment. Yeah, survival football is definitely the flavor of the month when it comes to style or play, which is a shame. It's a shame that it is essentially survival football that Manchester United has to live on in order to get anywhere. And the fact that we're trying to chase down European football in the Champions League whilst essentially having our legs tied together is not it's not really the ideal thing to have happen to you. So yeah, it's long for the manager, and I suppose as to what this game can entail is, with the letter of the law being laid out for this manager, failure to attain 3 points against Everton tomorrow is the first out of three nails in the coffin. The next nail in the coffin, you've got Liverpool in the FA Cup midweek. And to go out to Liverpool, essentially, is like, well, there's a chance at a trophy for this season. You're out of a competition, you're closer to the sack, factually. By any case, you are closer by default to the sack on the basis that you have failed to attain success in a competition for another year. That puts you closer to the chopping block. So that's the second nail in the coffin. The third nail in the coffin is if we go yet again into another Premier League fixture. If we go into another Premier League fixture and fail to win that game, yeah, I think it's the third and the final nail in the coffin, where it's like, I think by that point, the board, incoming, current, does not matter. They'll look at the situation and say, I'm afraid this is untenable because we need to be chasing down Champions League. We need to be chasing down those qualifications for the European competitions. But we're getting further away, and we need to decide on your future now before it gets mathematically impossible. Because it wouldn't be mathematically impossible, but the likelihood is that the odds are just too far stacked against you. The probability is so low. So it's like I think the board would then act on the impulse of damage limitation in terms of the season to get the players a bit more, mentally in a better state by the time it reaches the summer. So, I mean, that's the only real doubt that I have with the idea or the, the idea of sacking Ten Hag. And given the fact that these players are still going to be here, it's another summer for these players to hold on. It's another chance for players we know are not good enough to yet again get another season. They've not been good enough for that many managers yet. A new manager coming in might say, well, actually, I like all of these guys. I like all of these players. Jadon Sancho, I know the last manager called you out. I know the Dortmund manager, whilst you're on loan, called you out. But I'm going to be the hand on your shoulder, giving you a pat and reassurance. I'm assuring you you've got a place in this team. Jadon Sancho's just been given the license and the verbal affirmation that he gets to kick back and relax. I'll put my feet up again. I'll just coast through games. I don't have to try. It enables it. Yeah, and that's the thing. Challenging a player's ambitions can be so key and so important to the future success of anybody in that squad. And getting people on the edge of their seats and a bit uncomfortable, a bit hot under the collar. When your big boss walks in and says, look, your performance hasn't been good enough. Out you go. Bye-bye, get gone. Everybody else thinks, well, Jesus, if I'm not performing, that's going to be me. Challenge the ambitions. If you want this club so badly, if you want to be Man United player so badly, now's the time to start proving it with your actions. Don't worry about your PR statements or telling like the guys in the media and the press about what goes on in behind closed doors in the training ground or in the dressing rooms. Focus on letting your actions speak for your sentiments on the club, right? Let your actions show how ambitious as a player that you are and how desperate you want success. Not just, and I suppose you can go beyond the complexion of success for the club as a player wanting so desperately to be remembered for your trophy accumulation as a player. So you're in it for yourself and your own self-pride. I think that's also quite an important factor as well. Because if you're a player that's just happy with collecting paychecks every week, no ambition or desire to win trophies, the most expensive professional mistake in the record books, and you'll be remembered for all the wrong reasons. And I can't imagine that anybody with the sense of having an ego will have lots of pride, and that they would accept having their legacy be remembered as somebody that put money before success, put money before achievement, was willing to accept the paycheck. It doesn't matter if my name's always in a negative light for the rest of my life. Look how rich I am. I mean, there's some people out there that literally just live a life where it's like, wow, can I really be that bothered if I'm that filthy rich? Who cares what people think about me? And some people will be like that, and that's fine. People can go off and do that. But for most players, I would assume just affiliating them to other past, legends of the game and how they thought about the sport and how they thought about their careers, that perhaps if people have model professionals or, have their idols, that at least you'd want to aspire to be somewhat like them. So and I think having the right people at a club as well is also imperative to ensuring that players realise that. When you've got players that realise it and they start tapping into it, kill off this sort of sluggish, lazy attitudes at the club. Everyone starts singing from the same hymn sheet, sing Kumbaya, everyone's pushing the same direction, and is the whole, the wider, the grander scheme looks a whole hell of a lot better. Way, way better. So that's kind of where I'm at with players in the squad. Big up Fuzzy, big ups to Stephanie. How we doing? Hope you're well. On to 5 likes. That says fantastic. Keep them likes streaming in, people. Sup, you bellends. It's the long-haired prick in the chat. How we doing, buddy? Hope you're well. That's that code for Bellissimo. Big ups to everybody in the chat as well. Don't forget also to subscribe to Long-Haired Yeti, fantastic Nottingham Forest channel as well, with a few other different types of shows as well that goes on there, as well as a gaming channel as well on the side. So all sorts of different kinds of content, and a really reliable place to find some watch-along content as well. So do keep that in mind, people. And also another channel to make space in your subscriptions for. Subscribing it to Football Bats channel as well, if you like a little bit of alternative Arsenal content and not your traditional AFTV-ish type content, mainstream. We'll call them mainstream if you prefer someone that's a bit more relaxed and laid back. Really ideal channel to go check out. So please do so. Be fantastic. Also, called bigger experienced players need to step up and can't be reliant on the young guns all the time. And I suppose you could probably say the initial aspect of having a younger player have to come into a first team setup in order to motivate the experienced players would indicate initially there's a problem. There's a problem in that squad and it needs fixing. But even when you have young blood in that team and they still sort of they still go off on a tangent and there's not really any desperation or desire to do any better, to be better as players, especially not just any old players for Manchester United, but being the more experienced players, especially, for example, Marcus Rashford again. The fact is that you're essentially the poster child. You are the face of the club. You're the golden child of Manchester United. Having an entire lyric of a song about a manager dedicated to you, being Manc born and bred, and how, immediately being an academy prospect makes you almost immune to criticism and the amount of apologists that you'll have in the fan base that back your case. For me, Rashford, he speaks one tone, and if there were any evidence or implication to what he says being true, I would firmly be in his court backing him. I'd be in his court backing him. But there's zero evidence to back up what he says about commitment, about what the club means to him. There's no evidence because we don't see your sacrifice on the pitch. And I won't just stop with Marcus Rashford. I'll extend that courtesy to everybody else. We will watch for your sacrifice on that pitch. And if you cannot be bothered to sacrifice, you don't really have a place in this team, because there are people that did sacrifice for this club and ultimately paid the price with their lives. Yeah. And it's taken a tragedy to really lay down the foundations as to what representing this club should mean to you. Have a bit of pride and realize that you're not just representing Manchester United fans all around the world, you're representing the fans of the past, and you are setting the example for fans of the future. So if you are being lazy now, you are disgracing the past, you are damaging the trust in the now, but you are also dissuading the interest potential of the future. So you're literally taking three different past, present, and future tense, and you're causing damage to all three of those aspects, to how a fan or somebody from the outside can view Manchester United. You're doing damage as an individual by not giving everything on a football pitch. And the same thing can be said about every football club. No matter what club it is, as a player, if you hold no pride and no sense of dedication and commitment to your team, that you are disgracing that many different elements from a fan's perspective. It's actually incredible just how far and just how deep that can actually go. Like it's mental. The fact is that it's so deep. There's not really a lot of people to think about it, to really sort of sit and think for a while about it. But when you do, you just see just how far some of that damage can really run, how deep rooted you can cause impact. If we lose tomorrow, won't want to be in Ten Hag's shoes. Pressure is really on now. Yeah, and it's like as I've said, it's essentially the next three games are like the next potentially three nails in the coffin, or the final three nails in the coffin. Maybe he's been accumulating these nails for a while now. Maybe starting from results like losing to Brighton 2-1 on the opening day last season. Maybe that's when maybe that's when it started. Who knows? Who knows? For some people, the first nail in the coffin was when we got Ten Hag in instead of Pochettino. I mean, we can all look back and say, well, Jesus Christ, it's not going too swimmingly well for Pochettino either. I mean, let's be real. It's we got the better option, but everything's not worked out the way that it should have. And I think it's not so much that this is what we should have expected, because it isn't. But it's now looking back on it, just in hindsight, in the retrospect side of things. It's like this, it just annoys me that we've got this situation with the squad the way it is. It really, really does annoy me. And the fact that it's cost the manager. I mean, we can talk about what ifs right here, right now. You can say, what if the players were completely on board with Ten Hag? What if they tried everything in their power to play his football? What if everyone was pulling their weight for Ranić? What if everybody was giving everything for Rolly? What if everybody adopted winning mentality like Jose Mourinho had? All of those what ifs. What if this? What if that? And that's kind of what fundamentally what the last decade, as far as looking back on managerial situations and players and squad manager relations, it's all filled to the brim with what if this, what if that. And it's kind of like, well, let's not worry so much about that anymore. Let's worry about what's going on ahead of time. We've got another manager who could literally be sacked within 3 games. He could be sacked within the next 3 games. And losing to Everton would be a really, really worrying start, a damning start, if you are, of course, Erik ten Hag. And losing to Liverpool would just be more of an affirmation that, yeah, I think this is it for him. And then if the mood is that dead and we look spineless and gutless against the team after Liverpool in the FA Cup, and we lose there as well, I think it would be fair to say that, yeah, Ten Hag's checked out of Manchester United. He doesn't want to be here anymore. Maybe, just maybe, it's Brentford as well, Brentford away. Maybe, just maybe, there is a side to Ten Hag where he's sort of feeling, this pressure and this stress is not really worth it for me. And he might be sort of feeling his way out of the job, because as far as like, taking the paychecks, especially for contract severance, where it's just like, well, my project isn't working, I can't achieve what I want to achieve here. I think it's time to cut my losses. And some managers, I think Mourinho probably feels that way, especially when he feels like, nah, this ain't it for me anymore. I want out of it. You start to see you'll start to see a lot of questionable stuff, and especially with Mourinho's final days as manager, yeah, really questionable stuff. Things from what he says in press conferences to tactical decisions, his substitutions, and all sorts of things like that. Ten Hag has shown elements of the similar story. Ollie was doing it. I think Ranić was doing it. Um, I don't know about Louis Van Gaal so much doing it, but yeah, a lot of really questionable stuff and decisions. And if we see a lot of that over these next couple of games, then I think we know whereabouts perhaps Ten Hag's brain is at, in retrospect to the situation. So yeah, not too good. Ten Hag might walk away. That's another option. Yeah, so we can do what we do best and react rather than plan. Yeah, I mean it's possible that Ten Hag asks for his release, and they'll probably say, "Oh, Ten Hag got sacked." But what if it comes out at some point that Ten Hag actually says, "I want to leave Manchester United, and I want to leave now. I would like to part ways. I refuse to manage this club anymore. I refuse to try and get those players to play for me. They don't want me to manage them anymore. They want me out. They want me gone. So I'd like to terminate my affiliation with you." And maybe that comes out in future. It'll be amazing if there aren't NDAs to say, "Oh, you can't talk badly about this club for XYZ amount of time." It would be great if there wasn't NDAs, if there weren't any NDAs, and he can actually speak if he does leave. That he can speak about the situation quite instantly, and quite soon after. I mean, that would be a bit of a breath of fresh air as well, having him be able to start talking about why did I leave Manchester United, just whilst it's still quite fresh in the mind. Um, so yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting. Um, got Long Eddietti saying, I think he will stay until the cup run is over, to be honest, which I believe will be next round. I mean, Liverpool do come to Old Trafford in the next round of the FA Cup, which is on the 17th. 3:30 kickoff, which, if I'm not mistaken, is a Sunday. Yeah, it's next weekend Sunday. I was thinking it was midweek for some reason, but no, it's next weekend on the Sunday, 3:30 kickoff, and it might be Ten Hag's last game. It might be, if of course it's dependent on Ten Hag having any implication to success. Maybe Ineos are waiting until the prospect of winning a trophy is completely out of the question, and dependent on how we go out the FA Cup, perhaps it will be more ammunition or more of a reason, to state a reason as to why we are dismissing a manager. So it's possible. It is possible. Um, I think we will just have to see if Everton result. If we lose to Everton, I think it's very key for a lot of fans to listen to what the club's tone is, especially in reaction to losing to Everton, because they might say, "Well, look, next game, it's do or die. If he loses, he's gone. If he wins, he buys himself a little bit more time." Or we might we might have overestimated the fuse. The fuse might be a lot shorter. It might already be lit. Maybe Ineos are waiting to put the fuse out if Ten Hag wins. But if he doesn't, then the fuse will just explode the bomb. maybe that's what they're waiting for. They might literally have the finger on the trigger right now. So yeah, it's going to be difficult, um, especially planning and thinking about the next couple of weeks. Will Poch, Howe, and Ten Hag be changed at the end of the season or before? Managerial merry-go-round tickets, please. I think I know everyone in Chelsea's fan base wants Poch out now. I think it's a little bit of a split for Newcastle fans. I think some are desperate to see even Newcastle to do even better, or to perhaps go to the next step or next stage of Newcastle's inevitable rise to the top. And then, of course, with Ten Hag, it's like, well, yeah, man, the guy plays no style of football. You know, the players are good enough, and he's a little bit sickly. The repetitive nature as to uh, as to some of the reasons as to why Ten Hag is just not good enough. But I hear Cooper is available. Sack Eric Ten Hag. But I thought Cooper was still in the job at Nottingham Forest, DJ Crane. I thought he was still managing them. What happened? When did that? He got sacked. When did that happen? When did Cooper get sacked? That's incredible stuff. I've been living under a rock. But big ups to you, DJ Crane. Good to see you as always. I hope you're doing well. But the only Cooper that I think is going to be available for Manchester United is a Mini Cooper for the manager to drive himself to the airport, probably, or by that point, ex-manager. They'll buy him. They'll buy him a Mini Cooper called Steve. Park it outside Carrington's to say, there you go, Eric. Time for you to leave. But yeah, that's probably a little bit, perhaps how somebody's thinking about the sacking of Everton are going. But yeah, with the team selections, I'm just more sort of thinking, well, what is available? Because I know there's been talks about in terms of player availability or player fitness. I know Forson, somebody who has played quite recently. I think it was actually against Fulham that he played. Forson, also another player on the injury list somehow, barely playing any football whatsoever. Apparently, he's somehow injured. Question marks around Johnny Evans and Marcus Rashford. Apparently, both Johnny Evans and Marcus Rashford are both fit and available, or fit enough to play for this game. So those are two likely inclusions. I think Harry Maguire's also a question mark. Still no Luke Shaw, still no Wan-Bissaka, still no Mason Mount, although they're saying Mason could be back after the international break. So we'll be looking out for that. Still no Martinez. Martial's pretty much gone. Malassia's dead. And Højlund, again, another player, I think just around the corner from his return. So yeah, I think it's a couple of players that could be soon to rejoin the squad picture for Manchester United, and hopefully they come back sooner than later. But the starting 11, I'm looking Evans and Rashford safely back from Belfast. Yeah, apparently Evans was just driving to the airport. He saw Rashford just absolutely hanging out of his arse on the side of a bar. Picked him up and was like, right, okay, we're taking you back to I'm taking you back to Manchester. I'm giving you a lift. So yeah, that's probably what happened. Rashford tried to disappear for Benders in Belfast again. Yeah, not great. But yeah, I'm thinking an honouring goal. Probably, well, it's going to be an honouring goal, isn't it? Left back, probably. I think Lindelof's fit and available, so it's probably going to be Lindelof. either Lindelof or Amrabat. He might opt to go with selection similar to that of Nottingham Forest. Just given the circumstances, that is not necessarily a team that he wants to soak up pressure defensively to hit on the break. He'll want to impose or try and be a bit more front-footed with things. So maybe I think I'm sort of split between Lindelof and Amrabat playing left back. I think centre backs, if Johnny Evans fit and available, it's him and Varane. Or either that or Evans is on the bench, Lindelof centre back with Amrabat at left back. I think it's clear and obvious that Dalot's playing at right back as well. Midfield, again, Manu Casemiro, both that fit and available. Don't need a third midfielder in this game, essentially, even though we kind of played with only two midfielders against City, despite having three on the pitch, apparently. Supposedly, allegedly, now someone correct me if I'm wrong, right? Fact check me. But apparently Scott McTominay was on the pitch as well against Manchester City, which is a bit baffling because I tried looking for him in highlights and everything, but just couldn't see him. I just couldn't see him at all. So, yeah, I mean, I was trying to look for Man United highlights in that game, barring a goal. I was trying to look for some highlights that included red shirts. So, yeah, it was a struggle to say the least. But hopefully, it's a lot more positive for Manchester United against Everton. That there's a lot more to speak about in a positive light. I think Manu Casemiro, again, just as it is a partnership that is more progressive, he works well together. They developed a good partnership, and they bring together a good balance. I think just having somebody who's good to connecting the play ahead of them. Bruno has not been that guy. He has not been that guy, but I think Bruno, being the captain, Ten Hag's still going to back him. He's still going to start him. But for me, Bruno's not the guy to do the job in linking that midfield up and carrying the ball, getting it further to the attackers. And a bit wasteful in front of goal as well. So there's a few elements to Bruno's game that have been costing Manchester United more than it's been delivering goods for us. In terms of your left wing, I think because Højlund's still not fit and available, Garnacho's bound to play left side. Anthony's bound to play in the right with Rashford up top. Forson, played against Fulham, but apparently out injured, so not going to be included in this match day squad. But yeah, it's going to be a bit of a struggle to really pick out what the most ideal team for this Everton side is. I hear on the another Manchester United channel, the Man United Agenda, talking about Everton's pressing, and I mean, there's one joke that I wanted to say about the press of Everton is that it's not necessarily to do with Everton. I mean, Manchester United players absolutely love the press. They love them. It's not the ones on the pitch. It's the ones that sit behind desks and have phones on your desk in the front of your conferences. That's the kind of press that they love. So it's probably that. I'll tell you what. It's kind of ironic, when Ten Hag, a manager that likes to get his teams to press, press. I want all of us players to press. All the players sit there think, "What? You want us to press? You want us to press? Okay, okay then. Do you fancy going getting me Neil Custis on the line? Yeah. Make up a story about. Make up a story about this for me. So yeah, it's probably what goes on. It would just be really typical if that was the case. But yeah, biggest to everybody that is liking, and please do, as what Stephanie has commented here, like, comments /chat and subscribe. Road to 200 subs, absolutely 163 at the moment, and if we can get ourselves up to 170, we take the small steps, but they are still steps nonetheless. And every every 10 subscribers this channel gets at its early stage is there are small wins, and all the small wins will account to the big wins at the end of the day. So I am definitely, absolutely, really thankful for all of the small wins that the channel community does provide. Um, and I feel like everybody is also all included in the achievements that this channel gets. So I extend the celebratory commemorations for the channel's achievements to also the viewers as well. So I feel like you guys will be absolutely responsible if this channel is successful. So yeah, I'll accuse you. You are responsible for this channel doing well. But big ups to everybody that does like, that does subscribe, that does also drop in the chat to say hi. If you're watching on playback, if you're leaving comments there as well, also massively appreciated. Anthony did well versus Everton last season. He starts, but want him on the left-hand side or try him through the middle. I know Big T says something about this, about Anthony, either playing Anthony with his strong right foot as a creator, as opposed to playing him on the right to where he's shooting more, or he's incentivizing using his foot for finishing purposes when we're not really in finishing positions. So maybe there's an idea there that you're forcing some of your one-footed players to use their stronger foots for the sake of creating as opposed to scoring, which would be ideal if your name is Rasmus Højlund or Marcus Rashford or Bruno Fernandes playing in the middle, or better yet, perhaps maybe even Casemiro or Kobe Minu. You know, those sorts of players in the middle. Either your early runs, your late runs. Use your strong foot to create with the cross or the inverted pass, the cutback, or inspire us. Use your imagination. Create for us. And also through the middle. I'm not sure if the physicality he has, like I don't think he'd ride enough of those challenges well. He might bait a lot of fouls in the middle, because I feel like you're more likely to get, or you're more likely to win challenges in the middle. Or I say win fouls. You're more likely to win fouls in the middle as opposed to out wide, especially on the instance that perhaps there's quite a few referees that look at the wide players as players that will look to try and buy a foul or buy a free kick. So maybe they're a bit harsher on players that play out wide as opposed to players who play in the middle. I don't know if that's is any fact or if it's all complete fiction. Perhaps that's how referees think about players, but yeah, it is what it is. But yeah, it is interesting to say the least. See you later, buddy. Back to my painting. Oh dear. I'll tell you, you're not having to paint in a sky blue color. As long as you're painting red, then it's all okay. Painting red, white, and black, Manchester United colours, then everything will be okay. But yeah, if you're having to paint in other colours, then yeah, that'd be a bit nightmarish. But anyways, guys, 2-1 I've gone with to Manchester United tomorrow. Guys, want to let me know your thoughts and your feelings about this game is in the comment section below. If you are watching in playback, then do be sure to like and also subscribe if you haven't done so already. Big day tomorrow for ERIK and his future, and a lot of thinking for Ineos, Sir Jim Ratcliffe and co to do. Still no director of football. Probably they're going to settle with there not being one until 2025. So yeah, it's not good. There's various things in Manchester United, in the household of Manchester United at the moment. That's not too good. But we're hoping for quick resolve and back into moving in a proactive fashion, and that we get to speak more glowingly about what could be for Manchester United, and that we hope for a better future, a brighter future, a Manchester United future. But anyways, thank you very much for watching, guys. Take care, and we will see you probably tomorrow night with the match reaction. I'm going to be stuck at work all day, so that's not going to be a lot of fun, but do bet on it. Match reaction once I am back from work, and yeah, hopefully it's one we can speak about as a win instead of a loss. So, but if it is a loss, I'll tell you what, there's going to be a lot of people just waiting for that official communication. It's like Real Madrid oficial comunicado. Um, yeah, there's going to be a lot of people waiting with bated breaths and ears glued to the phones, radios, and all sorts. But anyways, take care, people. We'll see you again tomorrow, and then probably again on the Sunday, where there should be Sunday night takeaway show. I'm aiming to be on that show. If I don't make it onto that show, it's because Tony has uninvited me and absolutely hates me. But he doesn't hate me. He doesn't hate me. He's a great guy, Tony. And yeah, I'm sure that there should be some space, some room at the inn for our good old Fuzzy to get on there and speak, hopefully, the not so depressing state of Manchester United Football Club. So, yeah, do be sure to keep your eyes and ears peeled for that on Early Doors Football TV. Do make sure to go subscribe to him as well, along with a few other channels in the Long-Haired Yeti's Cave, sub to Long-Haired Yeti there, and also there to Football Bounce channel. Take care, guys. We'll see you again tomorrow, and look forward to the weekend. Big ups, everybody. We'll see you next time.